Yes, folks, welcome to episode 1 of the Fundamental Wisdom podcast with your host, Coach Bart K. On this podcast is where we ask the questions that you want the answers to, where we discuss the ideas that matter in order to aid your journey ascending to your highest self. We have practical discussions to help you level up mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. And in this episode, I'm honored to be joined by Primal Thrive. Primal Thrive is a true pioneer in the men's health space, a master of hormones and natural T optimization, a man that has escaped the matrix to live in the jungle and recently shaved his face. Warm welcome to Primal Thrive. Dobrynja, can I call you that? How are you doing?
Of course. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Very delighted to be your first guest.
And I'm honored you are, man. How are you doing recently?
Good. I finished 8 days of fasting, so I feel renewed. And yeah, everything goes smoothly, let's say.
That's massive. 8 days of fasting. And where are you right now?
I am in Vilcabamba, Ecuador,
Ecuador.
staying at a nature reserve. So trying not to be close to the city. It's not really city, like small village. But still, I like to be around nature. So I'm here lodging at the natural reserve.
Mm. So that's a big change from your home country of Belgium, right? So
Yes.
how's that been going for you? You've been traveling South America now for quite some time.
Yeah, for
How's
five
that?
months. Yeah, started like Mexico. I actually was depressed back in Europe. Something to do with my mental state. I found really out in Mexico, like the change, in mood. So it took me a while to become like sane again mentally.
Mm.
And yeah, I could really see how your surroundings are influencing you, especially with the 2 years of the fear mongering.
The fear mongering, yeah, I feel you, man. I feel you. So you're saying that that side of the world is much better for your mental health than Europe?
It is. You have a sense of freedom, right?
Mm.
Like you don't feel you're watched, or there's not much fear mongering or news here. Life
Mm.
just happens, and you're kind of disconnected from, yeah, the mainstream narrative, and life
Mm.
is just how it is. Very simple here. Very enjoyable, good weather,
Mm.
none of the pressure, from society. So
So that's massive, especially now with all the things going on. For example, I've been hearing recently a lot about your neighbors, the Netherlands, and what they're facing currently right now
oh
with
yeah,
the
there's always
government.
something going on.
Yeah, so don't know if you've heard now that you're, in the jungle out of this matrix, but the government is buying up and now vowing to take farms
Yeah.
by force now. So at first, there's been protests going on for quite the minute now. At first, they were saying, oh, guys, please, stop farming. But now, in the last few weeks, they've said that we're taking your farms. There's nothing you can do.
that,
So,
that's absolute insanity.
insanity, insanity. Just before we get into those heavier topics, let's talk about your beginnings. So, obviously, you started off in
Yeah.
Belgium. Were your beginnings humble? What were you doing in your late teens, early 20s, all of that stuff. So let's get like just a brief history of Primal Thrive. How did Dobrynja turn into Primal Thrive?
Yeah, so I started with not really having a course or direction, right? I believe many young men have that. So a bit like lost, not knowing what to do. And I was always like interested in, let us say, alternative medicine.
Mm.
So you couldn't really study that in university. Um, so I chose to do like future acupuncture. That was like my main vision back then. And you need a medical degree for that. So you either
Mm.
need a nursing degree and a medical degree, like a doctor, physician, or a physiotherapy degree.
Mm.
So I thought, well, physiotherapy is not as long as a medical degree, and it's not nursing. So I'm going for that because body biomechanics, it's quite interesting.
Mm.
Nothing bad about nursing, because nursing is very practical and you learn like a lot of useful things, you know, like syringes, how to draw blood and stuff. It's quite interesting as well. But I chose physiotherapy. And then in my second year, I joined the Eastern Medicine School. So I started doing my degree in Chinese medicine, and then later flexology and ear acupuncture and stuff. So yeah, it started there. And while I was in university, I got like a book gifted, and the book was about longevity, written by a Belgian physician, and it was quite interesting. So there were like a bunch of topics that I learned, and that's like a bit the base of my health journey. Of course, it was sponsored by Big Soy, so there was a lot of misinformation
Big Soy.
in the book. But that really sparked the interest in nutrition. So I was dealing with a bunch of health issues like brain fog and probably leaky gut. And like with the tips in the book, I was resolving certain things. And that made me think like, oh, I could change my biology, my epigenetics with nutrition. So let's dive deeper into that. Back then, the entire world was getting acquainted with plant-based diets. There was a big push for that. So I was thinking, oh yeah, that must be the healthiest thing. So I tried vegetarianism for like 3 years or something. When I was graduated, I flew to Ecuador to do like the vegan thing, the raw vegan thing. And that completely failed. I was losing my hair and stuff. Got very underweight, memory loss, erectile dysfunction, like all of these things. But very fast, in a very small period of time, I was experiencing basically all the underlying things that I was dealing with, but they came to full expression. So I quickly realized this is not gonna, this is not gonna happen. This is the wrong thing. And back then I discovered the entire opposite, the raw primal thing. So all of a sudden I saw people eating meat and organs and milk, all the things we are told not to eat, right? Because they are toxic or they're not good for your health. So I immediately understood that, okay, this makes sense. These people, look healthy. You got all of your nutrition from animal-based foods, and health is about also building. It's not about detoxification, which is quite the topic in the plant-based community. It's always about cleansing and detoxing and fasting. So if you try to heal your things, it's both. If you try to heal your problems, you need to detoxify, and you also need to build up with animal protein. So this is a bit my philosophy, like plant foods are cleansers and animal foods are builders. And in between you fast, basically, because fasting is really good medicine as well. So Primal Thrive originated back then, 3 years ago in Ecuador. And what happened next was the pandemic, which made me flew back into Belgium, changed my diet completely, started optimizing without knowing it. I got some relationships, one of which was a medical doctor who offered me a job as a nutritionist.
Oh, wow.
So I made some connections there. And that medical doctor offered me a extensive blood panel, which was quite expensive, especially back then, because I wasn't like making any money yet. So the blood panel came in, and I saw that the hormones, the testosterone, was particularly very high. I also saw significant changes in thyroid, in TSH. And then I started making the connection of, hey, my problems are disappearing and my testosterone is very high. So that provoked like investigation. And then some months passed by, and like this, I started really diving into the hormonal stuff.
Wow. Yeah, quite the journey you've had. So just because you didn't touch on it too much, how was Primal Thrive before, say, late teens? How did you eat? I know you come from obviously Europe, where the diet is generally pretty good. How was your mom's cooking back in the day, per se? Was that just your standard meat and potatoes type of diet, or how would you say
Yeah,
your eating
well,
habits were?
still very like a standard diet is very high in vegetable matter, right?
Mm,
So still a lot of grains, a lot of plants,
mm,
a lot of vegetables, and not too much the saturated fat and the animal protein.
mm,
So very little of that. So yeah, if that's the diet you're raised on and you're missing on things like milk and especially fat soluble vitamins
mm,
and protein, you are going to kind of degenerate, right? You are going to
mm,
have health issues.
mm,
And a fun fact, when I was vegetarian, I broke briefly my vegetarianism.
mm.
And what was the trigger is that my wisdom teeth came out.
Okay.
And while they were coming out, I had an intense craving of steak and butter. Just that. I just wanted to eat steak and butter.
So
And
you so you went for that's so funny. You just
the
broke
craving became
vegetarianism.
exactly the craving became so like strong. I came home and the only thing we had was like salmon and like goat's cheese. So all of that was gone in the matter of minutes. And then the next days I was eating the steaks and the butter. And it felt good, of course. But still, I didn't know about raw meat and that you need to have some protein raw and you need to get like the B vitamins in from raw animal products. So still everything was cooked. So the raw thing was really a missing puzzle. And then I tried like the final bit of vegetarianism, veganism until I had like all of these issues, and then I went, yeah, fully on board on the other part of the spectrum.
Mm. So that's massive, man. So you've been through the standard Western diet, you've been through
Yep.
vegetarianism, you've been through vegan. I just want to ask you as well, because this very closely correlates with my journey as well. Part of my journey as well was when I was in university. I just went on the worst diet known to mankind, just eating takeout all the time. Just I like to call it the standard university diet when someone
Yeah.
doesn't really know what they're doing. How were you ever in that state when you were in university? Just,
My university diet, I was never touching tap water because
okay.
something inside me said like no.
Yeah.
I was buying I got like plastic bottled you know plastic bottled water, which is not the best, but it's better than tap for sure.
For sure.
And my diet was basically a lot of pasta. So pasta, pesto, typical student diet.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, very well, whole food, but yeah, not the best. Yeah.
Not the best. Yeah. So I guess you can say you've really tried it all. Obviously, not going into the massive extremes, things like fruitarian or, very, very strict diets. So you've really been through it all.
I was never strict carnivore. I never really had like junk food. Only now when I'm traveling, sometimes I'm just eating out all the time, and
Yeah.
a lot of yeah, a lot of street food is actually healthy because it's just potatoes and meat and some vegetables or something.
Mm.
But a lot of it is just also processed. So, but if your body is strong and you have healthy microbiome, you can handle that for a while. And
Exactly.
drinking charcoal as well. So,
Charcoal.
uh,
And another thing, I don't know if you saw on Instagram, I recently introduced the idea of healthism. So
yeah,
I'm not going to say what the two words were in full, but it's this idea of health extremism, right?
yeah,
Essentially, where you're trying to do everything 100% correct, right? And people talk about
orthorexia.
exactly orthorexia, but as well as that, just you miss out on so much life stressing about all the little details. So it's very nice to know that you also have like a healthy relationship with food. If you're in Mexico, if you're in Ecuador and you're hungry, you're not going to, absolutely starve yourself to death. Say there's some nice looking
Yeah,
street food from an honest lady, just go ahead and buy it. Who let's say it's meat, but it has a little tiny bit of whatever, what have you. We'll
Yeah,
say, you
I've
know,
been exposed to quite some PUFAs, and I know the local population in Latin America only cooks with PUFAs, so they
yeah,
don't know about butter. And they look just fine in their 30s and 40s,
yeah.
as
Um,
if they are on the healthiest diet,
mm,
barely having wrinkles. I
mm,
see both males and females in their 30s being perfectly like looking healthy.
mm.
That of course doesn't mean like that everything is all right inside their bodies, but you know,
So how you look definitely says a lot about
yeah,
how
it
things
says a
are going
lot.
on
So
inside.
and they're
100%.
kind of raised on PUFA fried stuff and cooked stuff, but
Mm.
they still look good. So maybe they will have the age spots when they're old, but for now they're looking good. So
That's something I'm noticing right now. I'm in Turkey. I think you know that.
yeah,
So everyone that's like before, say, the 50s looks incredible. Like the women are very beautiful, the men are handsome, and like strong. But the diet, like you were saying, is very kind of,
seed oil based, plant.
everything. Maybe not so much seed oil because there's a good bit of olive oil here. And actually, a lot of the food, especially like street food and kebab spots, it's all grilled on charcoal.
Yeah,
So it's nice. I'm eating a lot of grilled meat when I'm eating out. So, it's not fried like in the West. But what they love here is flour. So, there's pastries everywhere, there's cakes,
yeah,
there's baklava, there's with every meal you get like, the bread and like wraps
yeah,
and basically tortillas, all of that stuff. But like to build on that, everyone seems happy and healthy. There's not a lot of people that I've seen that are as unfit as quite a lot of the people in the West. So it really makes you think, you have the sun here, you have the beach next door to where I'm staying right now. You definitely have a lot less stress as well. I don't think I've ever felt as welcome anywhere compared to here. Everyone is so incredibly nice. Like, say you're looking for whatever, like whatever directions, a good spot to eat, something to do, straight away people, will jump to help you and be super nice. So that's
yeah.
good. How's now that we're on the topic, how's your experience been all in all in South America, and what kind of pushed you to make that move? Obviously, that's halfway across the world from small little Belgium over to that side of the world.
Um, the push was, well, I wasn't really happy where I
Yeah.
was in Europe. That's one thing. Um, I kind of wanted to see that part of the world.
Mm,
3 years ago, when I finished my bachelor's degree,
mm.
I also flew to Ecuador, and the plan was to travel in Latin America, but that never happened because we
Because
know,
of, yeah.
yeah. So I was thinking, well, I can just recommence my journey here, but start in Mexico and go down south. That's
Mm,
one thing. And also the pursuit for more freedom, because there are, how to say, governments, or there are ways here to just get more freedom in all kinds of senses.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And you're traveling solo,
correct. Yeah.
correct? So do you
I'll be
think,
meeting some friends next month, so then I'll be and at one's spots with some comrades.
that's nice. So would you say solo travel is important for young men nowadays?
Mm, I would say yes and also no. Yes, because you really learn to, manage your life.
Mm,
Like I have a business, so I travel and I work.
mm,
If you don't have a business, it's just good to gain experience. That's one thing. What I would suggest for young men is build connections, and
mm.
especially those that last, and especially assess your current connections, because most of it is from maybe, past lives or something that holds you together, like university. But after that, like I don't really have friends anymore from university. They're all gone. They have their own lives, and it's completely not compatible with how I'm living and how I want to live, right?
Mm.
So look look for connections that get you forward in the direction you want to go, and that also push you, because we see a lot of men are isolated, and when you're isolated, you are very susceptible for vice, right? You're gonna grab something, you're gonna fill in, you will have the need to fill the hole inside of you, the void. So you're very susceptible, and that can become an entire downward spiral. So instead of living by yourself, make connections and live either close together or together, because then you're really, on each other's feet, pushing each other in whatever thing you want to pursue, business or a Muay Thai gym, fighting or lifting weights, or just being healthy, healthy together, eating together, cooking together, working on something. Just be productive, but not always alone. It's good to be alone if you don't have anyone. It's even better, because if your circle is dragging you down, or they're not influencing you in a positive way, then it's just better to be by yourself and be okay. Learn how to be alone and be okay with that, and then build connections that are supporting you and bringing you further.
That's massive. So better to be with good people than be alone, but it's also important to be alone. But better to be alone than to be with bad people. That's huge. And not a lot of people realize that. A lot of people have people around them that are dragging them down without them knowing. And that at the end of the day, you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So that's a big lesson.
And it stems also from fear and scarcity. So I believe we are all wired like this, that there isn't enough, there aren't enough resources, or there aren't enough opportunities, or you need like a degree to accomplish this. We're very like wired in a negative pattern, or in a surreal pattern. It's not realistic. And you need to, and especially traveling makes you, well, you switch environments so many times that you are like a bit of a blank slate, so you can kind of see things as if they're brand new all the time, and that also reflects to yourself in a way.
That's massive. Right, so as we're on this topic of community building and the people that you have around you, I want to touch a bit on the community that you're building. Obviously, Primal Thrive has grown exponentially over the last couple months to a year. You have quite the network now of people that listen to your voice and trust the words that you say. So let's get some insights on what you have built. What has Primal Thrive become? But just before that, in classic Primal Thrive fashion, don't know if you're still smoking cigars, but I've got mine here. So I'm going to light this up, let you talk.
Yeah, so it is a profile account, of course, for everything related to men's health. But I would like to expand on that. So I would like to see the people that follow me in real life and build like a bit of a worldwide community. So I already have connections a bit outspread over the world, and I would like to just add to that, make the connections stronger, like widen the network, and so that people inside can also connect with each other. Something what we basically need, right? And something that happens naturally if we live in weird times. So like-minded people start connect with each other through the social media. But social media is fake.
Yeah.
Let's face it, everything is fake. If the electricity goes down, or if they erase something, it's just gone. It's nothing tangible. That's why, it's spreading slowly out into also physical network.
So you think the physical network now is far more important than your social media following?
Well, that's what I'm gonna be focusing on this year and the next. I haven't been active that much on social media anymore.
Yeah, noticing.
Especially on Instagram. So I believe now Twitter is my main, or is becoming my main outlet of what I have to say, my ideas. So I'm like transitioning to the Twitter. Probably will go back to Instagram at some point, but yeah, I don't want to keep it just an account on Instagram that's, you know, giving information. It's not about that. It's also about building the real physical connections, the meetups, the gatherings. Yeah.
So what are you doing to chase this? You know, you're saying you want to transition to the physical. What are some plans you have for the next 1 or 2 years? Do you see yourself perhaps homesteading, or is there any plans to start a community perhaps with, you know, a couple like-minded people? Anything along those lines right now?
Yes. Well, it's like I said, I'm investing myself in relationships,
Mm,
and that will then, I don't know what the next step is. I'm just open and receptive for that. But yeah, homesteading or having a base somewhere, you know, off grid is a plan that's on my mind. Not for now, just now finding a stable place where I can be and then see what the next steps are. But yeah, still, I believe still the urge kind of to travel and explore is there, and it becomes more of a longing to bring people together. So traveling, bringing people together, expanding on the network, and then we will see where it all ends out.
Gotcha. Yeah. Right. Now I want to touch on what you've done this last week. So at the start of this call, you said that you did a 7-day juice fast, right? Water and juice fast. So I just want to know,
8 days. Yeah.
firstly, why and how, and I can imagine that was a very spiritual experience, right? You're just completely detoxing your body, ridding your body of all sorts of toxins and going into this like deep meditative state. So I want to know if there was any lessons that you got from that.
Yeah. Well, I started fasting like 5 or 6 years ago, and I did 2 7-day fasts. Those were my longest. And this time I did an 8-day fast. So 8 days of no food. And before I started with some juice. So I did some juice and then coconut water, had a few days of water only. So that was my fast now. And in total, I believe I had over between like 50 to 75 days of fasting already that I did with everything in the past calculated combined. So I did a bunch of fasting in the past, and it really just helps you. It helps your metabolism, your physiology. It has tons of benefits. And then I got a bit stubborn and I forgot about fasting and I didn't give my body a rest anymore. So the last 2 years I wasn't fasting at all. And I don't know, but I didn't felt very well. I was feeling good, but I could feel better, or I had to give my body a rest. I felt I needed a rest, both my body, my mind, everything. I needed simply to disconnect from everything. So I believe it's my intuition or, God that whispered in my ear, start fasting again. So yeah, I took the time. I was preparing for it. And it was something like that was going on in the air because I was talking with a bunch of friends and they were just fasting or ending their fast as well. So everyone was all of a sudden fasting of the connections that I had. So yeah, like you said, not really a spiritual experience, but I got like a revelation during the fast, something, that came to me. Now I know what to do this year. So that was very obvious. I got a ton of benefits mentally. So I was remembering names that I previously forgot. I was remembering old memories that were like completely erased. So a lot of things sprouted in my mind. And of course, my body was just resting, it doesn't feel I lost a lot of weight, maybe some body fat, but absolutely not a lot of weight. So, and now I'm refeeding myself with the best quality that I can get. And I'm lucky to be here because I have a wide assortment of all kinds of really like quality foods. So very fortunate to be here.
So would you recommend fasting for everyone, would you say? Is there any
Yeah.
steps that one
Well,
needs
yeah,
to?
certain people that are very sick, type 1 diabetics, pregnant women, breastfeeding women, certain diseases of liver and other organs, then you can't really fast because your body is, that's the disclaimer, right? But in
Okay.
general, everyone can fast. Everyone should fast. I would even recommend fast every week once, like one OMAD, 1 meal a day, and fast with the seasonal changes. So fast when spring becomes summer, summer, autumn, autumn, winter, and winter, spring. So fast around those seasonal changes, because it's also then when the body kind of, shifts and toxins are released. Many get allergies or the cold. So if you fast during those transitions and season, you basically prevent by cleansing your body on forehand. So I would recommend doing extended fasts of like 3 days. You can reap a lot of benefits in 3 days of just water fasting, and do that during the seasonal changes. And if you want to do longer, do that as well. But that's a bit more difficult for certain people. And it also requires you to have a schedule and agenda that allows it, because most people are working and you can't really work when you're fasting for 5 days or 7 days.
So that's massive. That is massive. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot of value from that. So when you're fasting, your body is healing. And it's just very interesting to hear this from someone that's, such a prominent figure in the men's health space, because, a lot of these men's health coaches, all they preach is, just pack on as much muscle mass as you can, bulk, eat, just keep stuff in your face, protein, 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 eat. And you have a very refreshing, holistic approach, so rather than this like constant, like, you're a man, go do this, you're a man, like, it's just like a very nice, fast, get in touch with yourself, heal your body.
Fasting is one of the
So
hardest things to do for certain people because they're so addicted to food. So
actually, true. Good take.
yeah.
Good take. Good take. So now, Dobrynja, I just want to ask you, I asked this question previously. I don't think it was received the right way, but what does Primal Thrive do for the people that work with you? What do they get out of Primal Thrive? And obviously, it's the business you've built now. It's your baby. How has that been going for the last few years?
So I've been working on my main course for almost 3 years now. So every year I'm adding new value because I'm very concerned with what's in it, and I'm evolving. I know more things, so I'm putting that into the ATO course, which stands for Accelerated Testosterone Optimization. So I have like more than 300 people joining that course and almost 150 in the Telegram chat. So there is like my small inner circle regarding testosterone. Mainly the main health issues that I have solved myself and helping men to solve are low testosterone, hair loss, erectile dysfunction, and also anything related to gut health. So these are like the main areas that I help men with. And then I also have the mentorship. So I have online coaching, one-on-one. And very recently, I also started with business coaching, as this is something I'm very interested in business, how businesses work, how to grow businesses. So I've been like undercover, going more in depth into that topic while I was building my brand. And now I'm also offering or coaching men into the online business using social media and turning your skill into basically your job, your online job.
That's massive. So a man for the men. That's very good. The world is lacking like exactly that nowadays. They've kind of demonized brotherhood. So it's nice to have like a strong leader like yourself amongst the men. Now, I just want to touch on ATO, accelerated testosterone optimization. So you've told me now what it is that you deal with in ATO, but now the question I have for you is, what can men expect? Like, say, what changes will occur in their life once they start, prioritizing optimizing their testosterone levels? Like, say they're at a low level right now. If they do something like this, like ATO, and bump those numbers up, what changes can they expect? Physical, mental, spiritual, all of that.
Yeah. I believe first you have to look at it in a non-material way. So we have a very materialistic viewpoint of what everything is, and we tend to label everything. So we have this label of low testosterone, high testosterone, but we don't realize what's behind that label. So you might have very low numbers, and I had guys that doubled or almost like tripled their testosterone. And you might think that's impressive, but the real value is in how the person is changing. So imagine being in a dark pit and not knowing how to get out and really enjoying life or doing the things you are meant to do, right? That's really the value. So what I want to tell to everyone who's listening here, don't just see it as a number or as a function, right? It's not about the number. It's not about, the muscle mass or the erectile function that's all improving, or your mood and stuff. What it really is about is, how are you gonna live life the rest of your life? How is extra testosterone gonna benefit your relationships, your business, the way you perceive everything? I believe that's the real gold inside improving your own testosterone levels. And it's also not all physical. It's also, what are you doing in life, right? What kind of victories or what kind of connections are you making? Or what kind of moves, like a brilliant chess move that's worth stopping, pausing, and reflecting on that. So the same thing in life. How are you become a better player? Are you gonna become a better player by just staying the same, low energy, low T? That's again all the, people focus too much on the physical, but what they're actually getting is more of, your life is unfolding in a different way, in a better way. And that's what really happened to me. I was stuck. I couldn't really look past my, for a very long time, I just had this wall in front of me that I couldn't penetrate through, right? It was like resistance holding me back. So there was something in me that wanted to advance, and testosterone helped me do that. So now I don't really care anymore about the number as much. What I really care about are the noticeable effects that it has in your personal life or your professional life, and the things that really matter most. So that's what I try to do with my programs and my mentorship, my coaching, is to get men to where they actually want to be by optimizing testosterone levels.
That's massive. That is massive. So I have a question now. You can choose to answer it. You can choose not to answer it. Apart from investing in your courses and working with you directly, what are three things men can do right now to optimize their testosterone levels?
So the first thing is fasting. And I don't know where I heard this or read this, but someone's testosterone levels go really to rock bottom, as if you would be exposed to Navy SEAL training for 10 days without sleep. So you basically have testosterone levels of a dead guy or of your grandma, okay? And then a week into refeeding, they go above baseline levels, above levels where you initially started. So let's say if you're at 600, they can spike to 1,000 just by doing the testosterone. just by doing the fasting. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is taking time or taking the nutrients or the preventative measures to not being exposed as much to the xenoestrogens. So that's a huge issue, because the xenoestrogens, they mess with your entire endocrine system, with your thyroid, with your melatonin, with the feedback loops as well, even with their receptors, they bind on estrogen receptors, etc. So that's one thing to dive into, to basically clean your environment. That's the biggest part. Your body does the cleansing, but it's your environment. If it's constantly, like, chronically taxing you with toxins, that's really going to affect your hormones. And then the third thing would be to get enough of the fat. So the fat is not only the building block, but it also contains the fat-soluble vitamins. And all of these fat-soluble vitamins have receptors that initially promote testosterone production. So if you up the fat and the fat solubles, you're good nutritionally wise.
Wow. Thank you very much. So we have fasting, which is a weird one, because at first you have to sacrifice your testosterone going to levels of a dead guy, quoting Dobrynja, to only get him back up above baseline, which is very interesting. I haven't heard that. Number two, we have xenoestrogen awareness. Number three, we have upping your fats, which is a big one, because nowadays everything is low fat. Fat isn't prioritized, especially animal fat. You have all this talk about cholesterol. I have a fun story for you. Fun. I'm here in Turkey right now, right? So in Ireland, the most expensive cut of steak in any butcher, any supermarket, any farm, any farmer's market is always the fillet steak. I don't know about Belgium. It might be the same. The fillet steak, right? So the fillet steak, obviously, it is virtually no fat. It's just all muscle.
Filet mignon.
A fillet steak. It's that little lump, but yeah, there's basically no fat on it, right? In Ireland, sirloins are, I'd say about 2/3 cheaper than a fillet. And obviously a sirloin has nice marbling, it has a lot of fat inside, it has the fat on the outside. Here in Turkey, I was at the butcher's and I was buying steaks, and one of the cheapest cuts of steak here is the fillet. Why? Because there's no fat. And that just absolutely blew my mind. So the fillet was like almost 2 times cheaper than the sirloin. And I was like, what? Like, butcher man, do you understand that, like, the fillet is so expensive in Ireland? And he was saying, yeah, but why would you want the fillet? The sirloin has the fat, and the fat is good for you. And that just absolutely, like, you would very, very rarely hear that where I'm from in Ireland.
Exactly.
The
and
fat is bad.
in nature, you would find the protein always with a fat. So imagine you find an egg from an animal that's like fat with protein, egg yolk and egg white, right? Then you have a piece of meat. It will always be wrapped in fat. Organs as well, protein and fat. So whatever it is that you find in nature, even a bone, the bone is made of collagen, which is protein, and then the marrow is fat. So the combination of protein and fat is how we are meant to eat. You can't just eat lean meat or lean protein. It has to be with a fat. That's why I'm not like supporting all of these protein shakes, because it's pure protein and no fat, and that will mess up with digestion and actually lower vitamin A, because vitamin A is abundant in fat, and you need that for assimilation of protein and integration into the muscle. So if you want a hypertrophy, you need vitamin A. So you need a lot of protein, but you also need the fat and vitamin A to put that protein into your muscle.
That's massive, because don't know how much you've looked into like bodybuilding diets, but obviously you're eating a lot of, exactly like you said, protein shakes, chicken, broccoli, rice, just dry chicken breast, straight egg whites, egg yolks go in the bin. That's like your most, standard gym bro diet, which is, completely going against the grain of what you're saying. So that's massive.
Very vitamin A deficient, and therefore, yeah, things like hypothyroid and low testosterone are very common in those diets.
So I will back that up by saying that a lot of these people that are pushing these diets are simply also on steroids. And it's quite funny because you and the men in your group are reaching the same testosterone levels that these people have naturally, which is massive. I remember seeing one of your testosterone results. It was at 1400.
Yeah, that was
Nanogram.
the highest one after the veganism and stuff. So I
Mm,
believe I had the same effect as if you would fast and then you nourish yourself. You have like that
mm,
supra physiological spike. But it's still high. It's always around like 1200, something like that.
mm.
Even I tested myself lastly in Guatemala, and I was sleep deprived. My diet was like not how I used to eat. Quite some PUFA consumption, and yeah, my testosterone was all right, so it was high.
Which is impressive because some people have to hop on gear to get to testosterone levels as high as you and your men's circle. So yeah, you must be doing something right. All right, man. So let's move into a little Q&A. So I posted about the Q&A on my story, and we got quite a number of decent questions. So let's hear what the people have to say. I'm going to call these out one by one, and if we've already answered it, we've already answered it. So someone asks, what are the benefits of increasing your testosterone naturally? That was discussed. Next question, does activated charcoal bind to protective essential minerals or only toxic things?
So activated charcoal is one of nature's most strongest binders to toxins. It's even that strong that if you take medication, it can completely neutralize the medication. So therefore, don't take it with medication or any supplement if you're taking any, and always take it on an empty stomach. So like first thing in the morning or last thing in the evening.
Mm.
And sometimes when you take it with food, it's for the purpose of binding to, if it's junk food, it's for the purpose of binding to the junk in the junk food. But usually it doesn't really neutralize this, minerals like magnesium or B vitamins. It's more of the toxicity that it binds to.
Next question, how to heal allergies through gut microbiota?
Allergies, I would do fasting. Very simple.
Fasting.
So allergies arise allergies arise in usually in springtime. And if you have just food allergies, it's worth looking at supplementing with fermented foods for probiotics, healing your intestinal lining, and eating things like kidneys for the enzyme, the amino. I forgot the name of the enzyme. It's DAO, the abbreviation. But that really neutralizes like allergies and histamine reactions and stuff.
That's massive. Opinion on training to failure. What's the impact on testosterone?
I don't know the impact on testosterone, but a proven method to put on weight, definitely. So yeah, last set to failure is a good one.
Of course, last set to failure. How to grow taller.
So this has to do with bone remodeling, and actually compression makes your bones thicker but not longer. So after you can grow a little bit more, I believe I had a small increase in height just by maybe the testosterone and the lifestyle, the way of eating that I'm doing. But it comes down to releasing myofascia, and doing or preventing compressive exercises and performing more exercises that are actually elongating. So look at hands of climbers, right? They're constantly reaching out. Their hands grow taller, and also their arms grow taller. So if you can do more of the opposite movements, like hanging, passive hanging, rock climbing, these kind of things, together with hormones like growth hormone, this is a way to grow just a little bit taller. Don't expect any like significant or huge amounts of growth.
I've been seeing a couple of people, not going to name names, but a couple of people preaching some very silly things when it comes to increasing your height. I saw someone swearing by microfracturing. Have you heard of that or know what it is?
No, I know microfracturing makes your bones more dense. So for instance, if you train Thai box and you constantly microfracture your chins, your chin bone is gonna become like steel, right? It's gonna become very hard. So, but fracturing for growth, I have no idea. That's not what I'm concerned about.
Okay. Next question. A full day of eating for you. So what would you eat in a day, typically?
Today I'm fasting again until the evening, but I would start almost always eggs. So some eggs. Now I have yogurt, fruits. That would be like breakfast. And then lunch, I like to eat something raw. So like a raw salad with some steak tartare. And then evening is a little bit of organ meat with steak or fish and some potatoes, sweet potato or yuca, which is a form of potato here that's like a starchy vegetable as well. Very delicious.
What do you do for body wash? Obviously, neither of us use the standard Axe or Lynx or Head and Shoulders, what have you. So, body wash.
Yeah. I was traveling in big cities a lot, and big cities means tap water, and that doesn't really clean your hair. So I was buying natural like bars of soap that are actually shampoo. So like bars of soap that are shampoo, they're not liquid, but hard like soap. So I was buying those natural things. Usually I wash my hair with apple cider vinegar or something acidic. But now I'm not washing my hair at all because I feel my scalp became very dry and I'm waiting for the natural oils to come back. And if I bathe, it's in the river here next to my cabin. And then for body, I don't use anything, so no soaps at all.
That's a big mental roadblock for some people, and some people think we're crazy for doing that. But I mean, it is what it is. Practice what you preach. Living, walking, breathing proof. Next question. What is your experience with Tonkat Ali and Fadogia Aresti?
Never took those, so I cannot tell.
Fair enough.
But don't cope with like a herb or supplement as testosterone booster. I don't take any supplements at the moment. I don't consider charcoal as a supplement. It's more of a binding detoxification agent. But you don't need them. You can completely be healthy and have high testosterone levels pure by diet and lifestyle. So you don't need any of these supplements.
That's massive. So next one, how you unplugged the matrix. And I feel like we thoroughly discussed that on this podcast already. And the final question is, what drew you to your path of health education, which I feel like was thoroughly covered as well. So Dobrynja, with that, I feel like we've had some really good material in here, some really good content, a lot of value for people both starting off and already in this health and fitness space and on this journey. So with that, I would like you to just tell the people about some next projects you've coming up. You did mention on this podcast that you are very interested in business coaching and consulting. So perhaps something on that, you know, and then finish it off with where the people can reach you, where they can take a look at your courses, how they can reach out to you to inquire about coaching, all of that nice stuff. So yeah, leaving it to you.
So what's next for me is going to Paraguay, work further on my network. I believe there are a lot of expats there as well, so it's gonna be interesting to meet new people and make new connections. And then I'm finalizing my Latin America trip in Brazil, still working further on expanding my own business. And then I'll be looking forward to go back to Europe and connect with my friends and family. So that's gonna be probably this summer, something like that. And as for where can people can find me, it's on Instagram, so it's Primal Thrive, on Twitter, Primal Bra, and my courses are on my platform in the links provided there. It's in Thinkific, so that's the platform I use to stream my programs.
Cool, man. So yeah, lovely to have you on for this past hour. Obviously, quite a few issues with the Wi-Fi, which is unfortunate, interrupting our chat a little bit, but I'm sure it's fine. Gonna have to sort this out now for the next podcast. This Turkish Wi-Fi really isn't the best here, but we make do. So Dobrynja, Primal Thrive, thank you so much for coming on here. Thank you for letting me pick apart your brain
Thank
and
you.
spread some knowledge. And with that, I will let you go and we will wrap up this podcast.
See you next time.
See you next time, my friend. All the best. Thank you very much for listening, folks.